Hello, everyone. We'll give people a few minutes to get logged in and then we'll get kicked off. So
Excellent.
while we're waiting, Kirill and I both are at the gathering, Housing Wire, the gathering in Colorado Springs. And I was telling Carrie backstage that the weather in the view is much nicer than the wallpaper behind me. I blend in a little bit today, so Crow and I both had to sneak away to a quiet place.
Match the wallpaper very nicely.
I know. It's like I
To the
planned it.
jacket? Yeah.
I tried to do a background, but then this fluorescent lighting, I was glowing. It was crazy. So, all right, we'll go ahead and get started. So, welcome everyone to the SIP, where conversation fuels connection, collaboration sparks innovation, and lender members and partners come together to exchange ideas and track industry challenges. Much like chatting up over a coffee or favorite adult beverage, the SIP is a space designed for meaningful discussion that drive progress. At the Mortgage Collaborative, our mission is clear, is to foster a collaborative and forward-thinking environment that empowers our members to grow, thrive, and make lasting impact on the companies and the communities that they serve. And today, we're here to do just that, sharing insights, real-world case studies, and strategies that highlight the power of working together. So grab a cup, settle in, and let's elevate the industry together. And today I'm sipping from my paper Broadmoor cup, and it contains cold coffee. So it is excellent. So big thank you to everyone for taking the time out of your day, and maybe even some of you time away from the gathering to join us. And to amplify our reach, we're aiming to live stream the SIP on LinkedIn. That happens shortly following this for anyone that misses it. But today's show is proudly sponsored by our co-host and co-hosted by Truve's founder and CEO, Kirill Klokov. Joining Kirill on today's episode is Carrie Poliksa, Senior Mortgage Technology and Process Manager at University Federal Credit Union, which I will refer to UFCU for short. So welcome, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This is fun.
Yeah, awesome. I'm really excited about today's conversation. We've been doing some prep work behind the scenes, and it's some really insightful information. So for those of you that are in the audience, you can type any questions that you have, interact with each other. I will tell you, I have a little bit of a difficult time responding to them as we're going through questions and managing on one screen, but I'll do my best to incorporate your questions. So let's get started. So Kirill, let's start by introducing Truve to the audience for those who are in the industry, don't know exactly what you do and the problems that you solve in the industry.
Thanks, Jody. Truth is income and employment and assets verification provider. We launched payroll about 5 years ago, and the reason why Truth actually exists is I got a loan. When I opened the closing statement, I found a $350 charge from unnamed company at that time, and I was like, who is this? And somebody explained to me that that company took my data from my payroll provider that my employer pays for, put it in their database, then turned around, sold it to the lender, and the lender put it on my closing statement. It was $350. I was like, hold on, how does that work? This makes no sense. I thought that this makes no sense to a point where it might make sense to build a business around it. And we've been in business for about 5 years, 60 employees. We're now certified by both Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac for payroll. We've been in business, in mortgage business, really for a year, because unless you have certifications, you cannot do income and employment verifications. So we build that business first. And today I'm happy to announce that if you go to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac website, you can actually find us in the section of approved assets provider. So we went from being a point solution to being more of really a platform, right? We're the first one to have both income and assets together. In both of these products, because we build them in-house, we actually can iterate and they can play nicely off of each other. in a way that nobody has done in this industry before. Because you can look at assets, you can get SSV, then you sometimes want to also run income. And end to end, this looks more like a real consistent consumer experience because we don't change how it looks, we don't change how it works. And if you have questions, there's one support person to email and one dedicated customer success manager to email if you have any issues. And the best thing is because we don't resell anybody, we actually can fix things for you. And I guess when Carrie talks about her metrics, we fix some stuff for UFCU, which I guess I'll let Carrie talk about. And our first value on our website, if you'll go there, it's like customer obsession. So thanks for giving me an opportunity to introduce myself, but I think it's all about our customers. So I would love Carrie to tell the story of how it was working with us and just be as honest as possible.
Yeah. So before we go there, Carrie, if you want to tell us a bit about yourself, UFCU, and your role within the organization, and then you could go into, what Truve solutions you're currently using and what stage of the process do you initiate the verification services?
For sure. Yeah. So I am our mortgage technology and process manager. I've been with UFCU. I just had my 15-year anniversary. So a long time now. My initial career in mortgage was in processing. So I spent a lot of time arguing with people about why I needed their pay stubs and their bank statements and all those things. So my most excited part of being in this role is working to make that better for my former teammates and my former sales team through, enhancing our technology with vendor partners like Truve. So we started the journey with Truve last summer. And we actually implemented it in fall. We did a little pilot first and then brought it live to the whole team for manual verifications. So the Truve actually made like our vendor management as an institution is a bit of a labyrinth to navigate. And their how they have their trust center set up is really nice because all of the IT, SOC 2 reports, all those due diligence documents are there for you. I don't have to hunt it down with the rep. We can get them refreshed every year, which is really, really nice. And then also they had a great customer service success manager I worked with to implement and get through pilot, kind of stair step it so we could get the team used to using Truve. They were very used to using other verification of income and employment providers that worked a little bit different. So a little bit of a learning curve with having it member enabled where the member has to get involved. But, we were able to work out the kinks in that pilot phase and have a successful launch. Oh, you're muted, Jody.
There are people starting to flood in. I'm by the lunch hall, maybe not a great location to pick, but we are going to get into the statistics in just a minute. So we're kind of like, having everyone wait to build up to it. But Kirill, in the TMC 2025, our first edition of the Pulse of the Network, we highlighted how lenders and members are bracing strategic solutions to overcome challenges, streamlining cost and leveraging technology for the competitive advantage. How does Truve empower organizations to reduce costs, optimize workflow, and strengthen their edge within the market?
Okay, I'm unmuted. So first, I think it's worth talking about like what we are and how we build the technology. We actually have a very robust infrastructure that we reuse across multiple products. And specifically, when we go to our lenders and partner with them, we always guarantee at least 70% or anywhere from 50 to 70% savings against the current vendor. And now we're launching assets. If you think about how those could place together, because assets was also built in-house, we actually can provide a savings of 20% to your current vendor. So that's just the beginning of the story, right? It's like, because we control over our technology, you have one customer, one person to talk to. We can iterate quickly. We have platform that's very robust and secure. And we also provide out of the gate the savings. The savings is just part of the story. You also want to make sure that the users have great customer experience. So of course, take it with a grain of salt. It's my baby, so I would say that we have the best payroll product in the market today, specifically for income and employment verifications. A lot of customers tested us compared to similar solutions, to the instant databases, and everybody comes out satisfied with the product because it actually does work. It's very well built, it's very well structured, and it's easy to get onboarded, which is important, right? The assets product is roughly similar, right? We don't have a lot of data in assets because we just launched today, but we actually have run bank aggregation for now 2 years in other markets, and we know that we convert as well as everybody else. And what we would see is because we build all of our technology in-house, we can provide you substantial savings no matter which asset provider you use today.
Yep.
And I think the last bit, Jody, we spoke about this when we were preparing for this call, is the business model, right? We historically, the verifications provider, were working like this. You send me Social Security or you connect to the account and I charge you. That creates a few challenges for the lenders, right? First is how do you allocate the cost? How do you do the accounting? It's not that straightforward. And I think the second part to it is that actually prevents your teams from using true or similar solutions. Because if you know that the loans, there's some percentage of the loans that will never close. Everybody has the fallout. So we've been talking to our customers and I was like, what would be the most dramatic improvement in our business model for you? And we're rolling out it starting today.
Yep.
So the biggest improvement and I think this is a big innovation in this space, we actually are not going to charge anything up front. You can use Truth as much as you want at any point in the process. In POS and LOS, if you want to do it in pre-application before you call them, you can do that as well. That will cost you exactly $0.
Yeah.
We will only charge you when you close the loan.
Yeah.
So this, I think, goes from like being a service vendor provider to be more of a partner. Where effectively, if you think about like your cost of origination, you can say, okay, this is how much max I can spend with Truth. And we're doing more of it's like we're really just working off with you on your bottom line.
Yep.
So instead of being a vendor, we're now a partner. And that I think that also eliminates all the friction from using Truth because you don't want to pick up some cost up front.
Yeah. I actually was having a conversation with a lender last week and they're like, if you show me solutions that are success-based, I want to meet them tomorrow. So we'll make sure that you get in contact with that lender because I do think that it has a unique value proposition. And Carrie, if you don't mind, like when you hear, I mean, because we talked about where you were ordering verification services, how does like going to a success-based model, pricing model, how does that change how you envision interacting with the verifications?
I mean, it definitely, if you're talking about closed loan pricing, that's going to look like we should try it immediately at application, right? Because if we're then able to get that information up front at the point that our member is applying with us, that just makes the loan officer's job that much easier if they've already got their income and employment and assets verified coming over with that application. So I think that moves to right now, we're a little bit more conservative because of current pull through in the market, right? We don't fire that off until we've got an intent to proceed in that loan and processing. On all loans, we might do it manually up front depending upon the scenario, but that makes it a no-brainer to utilize as much as possible up front.
Yeah. I think that it really is it was going to cause a big shift in the market. So do see it as a disruptor in a good way. So Carrie, our members often ask, when you invest in technology to make things easier, so why does it feel so complicated? And the other question I always get is like, hey, we have all these great solutions, but we have a problem with being able to implement and get buy-in to the solution and really navigating change management. So based on your experience, how did the implementation, launch, adoption, and optimization of True's solution play out at UFCU?
think that the launch went fairly well. I think it's important to be one, we did the pilot. I think that was very beneficial to kind of get an idea of maybe some employers that weren't going to work on the service, right? Because there's always going to be those handful that just don't support it for whatever reason, and kind of get that familiarity for going with the full team, so they know what to expect. I think that transparency is important. I think it's important to recognize, all technology is not going to work 100% of the time in all instances, and set those right expectations, so that people know how to use it and when to use it to get the best success.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I know like this is the moment we've all been waiting for. So we know what the statistics are. The three of us do. And Fran, the customer success, because we've been working on the show. But can you share with the audience the statistics on the consumer click to conversion rate, meaning the click through to successful verification, that you are seeing at UFCU? Just talk through the process. How long did it take you to get there?
Yeah, so at launch, we had just over 50%, about 58% from attempt to getting successful results returned. We have been seeing that tick up since we did go live with the full team in December. We're currently at 70%, and we see, like, I believe 88% of people at least click in and try to where they're logging into Truve once they've received the email. So really high uptick of our members actually attempting
Yeah.
using it.
Yeah. And I know, oh, go ahead, Crow.
I think, Carrie, I hear in the industry, the conversion is an interesting term, depending on from where to where you measure. How do you, when you say 58%, that's from when to when?
From the number of orders placed to the number completed. So our processors clicking order to actually getting results back.
Yeah, that's like into your e-folder verification of employment. Yeah. So Kirill, you went to the same place I was going to go to really point that out. So when we think of conversion, a lot of times people will state that the conversion rate is just the consumer clicked on the link, not that you actually got the verification back. So we want to be clear on that. And what UFCU is seeing is they have 85% successful click. So many times in the industry, we hear like if loan officers they almost talk their borrower in the credit union space, their member out of doing the electronic verification. And Carrie and the UFCU team has done a great job in their change management process, along with the Truve team, and making sure that there isn't that barrier, so that they're being extremely successful, and that has been through a successful change management process. There's another statistic I do want to talk about before I come back to you, Kirill, is I asked Carrie what she was seeing from a savings perspective. So you want me to drum roll and you let that rip, Carrie? So what are the cost savings that you are taking advantage of from using Truve?
So before we launched Truve, I did an analysis of what every VOE we were ordering was costing. And even though the fee quoted is lower because of kind of the structure of how the system works, it was just over $100. It was like $102 per order. So every successful one we're able to get through Truve means that cost is only $30. So we're saving about 70% on the orders that we can successfully get results on through Truve.
Yeah. And I know like a lot of questions. I've been there. I'm a recovering lender and I've implemented a lot of technology. And my question as a leader is always watching that bottom line and what's my return on investment. So I think that's significant. Kirill, you touched on some of this previous in the conversation, but I think it's worth diving into, or maybe some people join late, but I have always recognized Truve for its verification of employment and income solution, but there's so much more. And you talked about the asset solution. Can you just go through the asset solution again, and also talk about, because you guys have gone through your roadmap, you've changed, a lot has changed at Truve since the beginning of 2024. So talk about like what your vision too is for any exciting things that are coming up in the not too distant future.
Yes, that's a great question. I think we started with payroll because that's seemed to be like the most simple solution to the problem that the instant provider price increases and all of what Carrie was talking about in terms of savings. But as we realized that payroll is actually a great data source, the conversion is never going to be 100%, right? People don't remember their credentials. If you think about how often do you log in into a payroll provider, Carrie's metric says like we started with 58%, we're at 70% now. Great, right? That's what do you do with the remaining 30%? And I think we always went back to our customers like, okay, what can we do with the remaining 30%? Thanks to our customers, were introduced to Fannie and Freddie Asset Program. But asset is also partially it's asset, but also it's income from bank, right? So it's called SSV. There's different brand names in the industry, but effectively what you're looking for is direct deposit transactions that then you gross up and you say, okay, I've seen this direct deposit transaction multiple times, and I believe this is how much money this person is making.
Yep.
So then you get an income for another, say, anywhere from 20 to 35%. So now you have if you're successfully implemented with Truth, you're looking at like anywhere from 70 to 85% success rate for income, because there's going to be some overlap. So what do you do with the remaining 15%? That's still a question, right? And we launched our payroll processing, or we would be able to get the documents directly from the borrower if they don't want to connect assets or they don't want to connect payroll income. We can collect documents, and we're part of the certified program for AIM check, where you get reps and warrants for income calculation. So as you can imagine, is we started with like payroll. We're going to mature asset product this year. It's going to be it's going to be much more mature, and we would, by the end of this year, I know the aggregation is already the best in class, but then how do you make sure that the reps and warrants is improved? And we've done a lot of work. I think if you look at our reps and warrants rate earlier last year, it's nothing compared to what it is today, thanks to the work and the partnership from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And now we're working on documents. So that's our next big thing, right? How do you make sure that we process as many documents instantly, efficiently, with high accuracy, with very limited fraud? Fraud is going to be a thing. And then how do you combine it? If you think about all of this, these data sources look very differently, but they all look at the borrower's income. How do you combine them so that they play nicely together? So you don't need to ask for additional information if you don't have to. You don't have to ask for, and the integration piece is also straightforward and easy. So it's one click to go live. If we can automate, then you don't need to do a lot of change management. I think there's a lot of work, Jody, on just perfecting what we have and making sure that what we have today is best in class and number one in the industry. So the roadmap is mostly around making sure that the customers leverage the whole ecosystem well. And we solve the W problem. I believe that by the end of next year, W2 problem will be gone.
Okay. Awesome.
On a per closed loan model.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember like 3 years ago talking about verification, and there wasn't competition in the space for verification of employment, and it was mind-blowing. So we definitely have a lot more in the industry today to be able to provide that. One thing I want to go back and kind of hone in on. So I was listening to, before I joined the Mortgage Collaborative, I was listening to one of their webinars, and I heard a small company say, like, we don't even know where to start when it comes to verification of employment income. So we can't take advantage of those types of statistics or that return on investment. Carrie, can you go through quickly about the implementation process and the documentation that's provided to help those who are thinking, well, how would I even begin? So you can help them think through that.
Yeah, they have a great, I think it's like docs.truve or something like that, center with like all the help guides on how to, stand up your Encompass integration, stand up your point of sale integration, all laid out for you in really organized, easy to use fashion. And then also, our customer success manager provided a whole training deck for me. I would advise, like, as a lender, you know, not to just let that rip, because you want to tweak it to your actual process flow, where you want your people ordering, how you want to automate it potentially. But they give you a great base that I was able to just tweak, so it didn't take a ton of my time. I wasn't writing an entire training guide or anything on my own. It was really plug and play with, you know, we did a bunch of technology integrations last year, and theirs was definitely like top tier for documentation, resources, and the ability to get what we needed quickly.
Yeah. And, the purpose of the SIP is really to show value to the industry in ways that the Mortgage Collaborative works with our preferred partners in solving problems for our lender members, and being able to showcase not just what the savings is, but the ease of use, and being able to stand up a product is very important for our members and the size that some of our members are. So thank you both for showcasing that. Kirill, if lenders want to learn more about Truve, how to get started, what all of the product offerings are, and the way that the pricing works, how should they reach out to you and your team?
I mean, you can always email me at Kirill@Truve. It's my first name at truve.com. Or you can go to the website, click see Truve, and we'll connect you the same day most of the time.
Okay. All right, awesome. So this has been so insightful and energizing conversation. So a huge thank you to Truve for sponsoring today's episode, and to both Kirill and Carrie for sharing your expertise with us. And of course, a big thank you to all of those who took time out of your day to listen in. We will be back next week, June the 17th. Wow. That is very hard to believe, at 2 p.m. Eastern with all of our members. And then we will be live streaming at 3 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday, the episode of the SIP. So thank you all for being a part of the SIP. Let's keep the dialogue going and continuing to raise the bar together. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.